There comes a moment in life when people finally wake up. But not because they have grown wiser, kinder, or more aware. They wake up because they feel the loss. Not the loss of you being present, but the loss of access to you. And when that realization hits them, it doesn't bring peace. It brings collapse. Stoicism teaches a harsh but liberating truth. People value what they can no longer control. While you were available emotionally, mentally, energetically, you were taken for granted. Your patience was mistaken for weakness. Your loyalty was seen as permanence. Your silence was assumed to mean you would always stay. But a Stoic does not beg to be valued. A Stoic observes, learns, and eventually withdraws. At first, they don't notice. They think you are still there, just quieter, still caring, just less expressive. They assume your distance is temporary, your self-respect negotiable, and this is where their illusion begins. Because what they fail to understand is this. When a Stoic detaches, it is not emotional, it is final. You didn't leave in anger. You didn't explode. You didn't announce your exit. You simply stopped giving what was never appreciated. Stoicism teaches control over what is within you and release of what is not. You realized you could not control how they treated you, but you could control your availability. And so you reclaimed your time, your focus, your dignity, quietly, without drama. This is the most powerful form of strength. Days pass, then weeks, and slowly something shifts on their side. They feel it first as discomfort. A strange silence, a missing presence they can't quite explain. You're no longer reacting, no longer chasing, no longer trying to prove your worth. That's when the wake-up begins. They remember how you used to listen, how you used to show up, how you made space for them even when it cost you peace. And suddenly they realize something terrifying. You are no longer available. Not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. And this realization hits harder than any argument ever could. Because now there is no door to knock on, no message guaranteed to be answered, no reassurance waiting on the other side. Stoicism calls this the collapse of false security. They built comfort on the assumption that you would always be there. But comfort without respect is fragile, and when it breaks violently inside them. They may try to return. They may test the waters. They may send signals, memories, indirect messages. But the Stoic understands something crucial. Availability given too easily teaches people how to treat you. You are no longer the person who waits. You are no longer the person who over-explains. You are no longer the emotional shelter for someone who never learned to protect you in return. And this is where Stoicism separates power from ego. You don't celebrate their collapse. You don't seek revenge. You don't feel superior. You simply continue forward. Because your growth was never about proving them wrong. It was about becoming unshakable. Marcus Aurelius wrote that external events cannot harm the soul unless the soul allows it. You stopped allowing harm the moment you withdrew your availability from those who misused it. Their collapse is not your responsibility. Their regret is not your burden. Their realization comes too late, and that is life's lesson, not yours. You have learned to sit comfortably in solitude, to choose peace over attachment, to value yourself without needing validation. And that is why, when they wake up, they find nothing to hold on to. You didn't disappear. You didn't change who you were. You simply returned to yourself. And in Stoicism, that is the ultimate victory. Not conquering others, but mastering your own soul. Most people misunderstand detachment. They think it means you stopped caring, that you became cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. Stoicism teaches something far deeper. Detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. You did not detach because you were weak. You detached because you became aware. Aware that attachment was costing you your self-respect. Aware that giving more would not make them value you more. Aware that your peace was being exchanged for crumbs of attention. A Stoic does not cling to what harms them. At first, detachment feels uncomfortable. Your mind remembers old patterns, the urge to explain yourself, the habit of checking, waiting, hoping. But Stoicism reminds us that discipline is choosing long-term peace over short-term relief. So you stayed silent, you stayed composed, you stayed firm, and this silence, this controlled absence became your power. Because when you detach correctly, something remarkable happens. You stop negotiating your worth. They sense it before they understand it. Conversations feel different. Your energy is no longer accessible on demand. You are present but not available, calm but not invested, respectful but no longer self-sacrificing. This confuses them. People are accustomed to predictable reactions. They expect anger, pleading, emotional explanations. Detachment denies them all of that. And in that denial, they begin to feel something they never felt before: uncertainty. Stoicism teaches that people fear uncertainty more than loss itself. When you were attached, they knew where you stood. They knew you would respond. They knew your loyalty was stable. But now they cannot read you. They cannot control the outcome. And control, not love, was what they truly relied on. Stoicism teaches that people fear uncertainty more than loss itself. When you were attached, they knew where you stood. They knew you would respond. They knew your loyalty was stable. But now they cannot read you. They cannot control the outcome. And control, not love, was what they truly relied on. This is when their internal struggle intensifies. They replay conversations. They analyze moments. They question decisions they once felt confident about, not because they suddenly value you more, but because they lost the emotional leverage they once had. Detachment shifts the balance of power inward. You are no longer reacting to their moods. You are no longer adjusting yourself to be chosen. You are no longer waiting for clarity from someone who benefited from your confusion. Epictetus taught that freedom comes when we stop desiring things that are not in our control. You applied this lesson without announcing it. You stopped desiring their validation, their attention, their return, and in doing so you became free. Freedom is not loud. Freedom does not argue. Freedom does not chase. Freedom walks away quietly. They may misinterpret your detachment as indifference. Let them. Stoicism is not concerned with being understood. It is concerned with being aligned with truth. And the truth is this: you did not lose them. You regained yourself. Detachment does not erase memories. It places them where they belong in the past. You no longer live inside what was. You no longer build your identity around someone else's choices. And this internal shift is what changes everything. Your presence becomes rare. Your words become intentional. Your energy becomes selective. People feel this instinctively. They realize that access to you is no longer guaranteed, that your attention is no longer free, that your time is no longer negotiable. And this realization creates pressure. Pressure to reach out. Pressure to explain themselves. Pressure to reclaim what they assumed would always be there. But Stoicism warns against reopening doors out of nostalgia. You are not cold, you are disciplined. You are not distant, you are centered. You are not unavailable, you are selective. Detachment is not punishment. It is protection. You protect your peace. You protect your values. You protect the version of yourself that no longer tolerates emotional imbalance. And when they finally understand that your detachment is permanent, not strategic, not emotional, not temporary, that is when the collapse becomes real. Because they are forced to face a truth Stoicism has always taught. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, silence is the language of those who no longer need to prove anything. Stoicism teaches that the strongest response is not reaction, but restraint. And when you chose silence, you didn't lose your voice, you mastered it. Words invite debate. Explanations invite manipulation. Silence invites reflection. When you stopped explaining yourself, you removed their ability to twist your intentions. When you stopped defending your feelings, you denied them the comfort of justification. And when you stopped reacting, you forced them to face something far more uncomfortable than anger: their own thoughts. Stoicism understands human nature deeply. People are not disturbed by what happens, but by the meaning they attach to it. Your silence gives them unlimited space to attach meaning, and most of that meaning is guilt, regret, and doubt. At first, they interpret your silence as a tactic. They think you're trying to provoke a reaction. They assume you'll eventually speak like you always did, but time passes, and you don't. That's when silence transforms from confusion into pressure. They replay past moments in their mind. Every ignored message, every taken for granted effort, every time they chose convenience over respect. Your silence magnifies these memories because there is no new noise to drown them out. This is why Stoics value silence. It exposes reality without force. You didn't accuse them. You didn't demand accountability. You didn't list their mistakes. Your absence did all of that for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike the one who performed the injustice. Your silence reflects this perfectly. Instead of matching their emotional inconsistency, you chose stability. Instead of reacting to their neglect, you chose self-control. And this imbalance is unsettling to them. People expect consequences to be loud. They expect anger, confrontation, or dramatic endings. Silence denies them that script. There is no closure they can control. No argument they can win. No final word to dominate. Stoicism teaches that ego is the enemy of peace. Your silence starves their ego while strengthening your inner calm. The less you speak, the more weight your absence carries. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. Silence does not beg. Silence does not explain. Silence does not chase. Silence simply is. They may tell themselves stories that you moved on too fast, that you never cared, that you're pretending. These stories are defenses, ways to avoid facing the truth that your silence reveals. They lost access to someone who once gave freely, and access once lost cannot be negotiated back with words. Your silence is not a wall built in anger. It is a boundary built in wisdom. Stoicism teaches that boundaries are not meant to punish others, but to preserve the soul. You recognized that continuing to speak was costing you your dignity, so you stopped. And in stopping, you reclaimed authority over your emotional world. They might attempt to break the silence, a message, a memory, a subtle reminder of shared moments. Not out of love, but out of discomfort. Your silence unsettles them because it signals something irreversible. You are no longer emotionally available, and this realization hits harder than any insult ever could, because insults can be argued with. Silence cannot. Stoicism does not ask you to be harsh. It asks you to be firm, and firmness is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not seek validation. It simply refuses to be pulled back into chaos. As Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit. Your silence proves that you are no longer complicit. You are centered. You are grounded. You are untouchable.